the kingdom. Cheers. A toast to the king.
You elect will drink wine new with Yahweh Shai. You elect, as of right now we say hopeful elect. You elect of Israel out there will drink wine new with our Lord Yahweh Shai in his Father's kingdom, which is going to be the kingdom of heaven here on this planet Earth once Yahweh Shai returns. When our Lord comes back, one of the first things he's going to do is have a toast with his men. He's going to have a toast with his men, those that stood stiffly for his name and his Father's name. Let's read this one more time. Matthew chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, which is wine, which is made from grapes, as you know. And our Lord, he loves to drink, man. That's something that our Lord took pleasure in when he was here on this planet Earth. He's not going to do it anymore until he returns to do it with you. Showing just how much he loves his elect, man. He's not even going to drink until he does it again with you. I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what a moment that's going to be, man. And you can only imagine the quality of wine that's going to be. Our Lord Yahweh Shai, he has access to different things that we don't even know about, man. Access to different grapes you don't know about. Has access to an entirely different quality of life that we don't know about. But he's going to reveal it to you. He's going to give it to you when he returns. Now, you have what's called a loyal toast. A loyal toast. I'm going to read this real quick. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given. In this case, the sovereign monarch or head of state would be Yahweh Shai. He's our sovereign monarch. He controls everything, man. But guess what? He's also going to extend that power to you elect. He's going to share that power with you. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given, or by expatriates of that country, whether or not the particular head of state is present. In this case, the Lord will be present. So you're not going to have someone speaking for him giving the toast. He's going to host the toast. He's going to be there, man. We're living in a time we're going to meet Yahweh Shai. You're going to meet him face to face, which is proof also that we have to be changed. We can't meet the Lord like this. He's going to change you. He's going to crown you, and he's going to toast with you. Now let's read some more. It says, it is usually a matter of protocol at state and military occasions and a display of patriotic sentiment at civilian events. The toast is usually initiated and recited by the host, which would be Yahweh Shai, before being repeated by the assembled guests in unison.
To the kingdom. Cheers.
Sometimes when Akim are among each other, we'll do little small toasts. Brothers may be like La Yashirala, holding up cups. But imagine the Lord himself hosting it, man. And we join in. And I was reading something else, and pretty much they said in order to have what they call a loyal toast, you would use wine. That's the beverage of choice. And once again, our Lord, he's coming back, and we're going to see him with all that power, man. But he's going to extend that power to you. Now, reading on a monarch, it says a monarch is a head of state for life or until abdication, in this case for life. And therefore, the head of state of a monarch may exercise the highest authority and power in the state. Or others may wield that power on behalf of the monarch. And that will be you joint heirs. You different men that are going to reign with the Lord, man. Usually a monarch either personally inherits the lawful right to exercise the state's sovereign rights, often referred to as the throne or the crown, or is selected by an established process from a family or cohort eligible to provide the nation's monarch. In this case, the Heavenly Father Yahweh himself selected his son Yahushua. And once again, when our Lord returns, he's going to wield that power to you elect as well. Once again, he's going to change you, he's going to crown you, and he's going to have a toast with you. A kingly toast.
To the kingdom! Cheers! A toast with the king! Raise your glasses, my friends. A toast with the king. A toast with the king. Raise your glasses, everyone. A toast to a prosperous future. To the king. To our glorious future. To the victors, blow the spoils. Raise your glasses. Cheers. Raise your chalices to the golden age of our kingdom. A toast to the king.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Pushing to get up out of Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai. All right. And what I want to get into this morning, Salaki, this morning news and prophecy is just to continue on, all right, on this World War III update, man, because this is major escalation that we're seeing. All right. And what we're seeing is this affect every nation in the world. Okay. And this is how world wars start. Okay, certain events, all right, that have a ripple effect, okay, that affect every nation in the earth. Okay, and what we're seeing now, dealing with the small hats, America and Iran, okay, and Iran's retaliation, all right, has lit the fuse to a powder keg, man. Okay, and what we're seeing with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, okay, is an effect on the global economy. Okay, so it's putting pressure on these nations that they're going to have to intervene in some form or some fashion to put an end to this, man. Okay, in an attempt to put an end to this war. But we know eventually this war is going to spiral out of control. Okay, it's going to eventually, become extremely destructive. All right, and then it's going to go nuclear. All right, and that's going to usher in Yahweh Shah. Okay, so we're watching the war that's going to usher in Yahweh Shah, man. This is vital. okay, whether it be months, okay, whether it be years, this is the war that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. Whether there's a ceasefire too in between, where the things simmer down, whether they open the scrape back up, this is going to be their war, okay? Because what's happening, these nations are showing their side. There's things that's happening with this war that can't be undone. And we're going to go through these things, man. And what we have to understand, this is the Lord bringing down Esau, man. Okay? Esau is being dismantled. Okay? Esau has reached the end of his rulership. Okay? Now he's being met with resistance. Okay? Esau not operating from a position of where he got everything figured out. Hell no. Because what he just did was a miscalculation and it was a gamble. Okay? It was pride. You see? And we just to sum everything up real quick. So what you had the small hats in America do a strike on Iran. They killed the Iranian supreme leader. Okay? The Ayatollah. Iran started to retaliate against the whole region. Okay? Destroying military infrastructure throughout the whole region. And this shocked everyone. American bases have never, all right, been attacked, all right, in that type of capacity. Okay? Then Iran began to attack Tel Aviv. Okay? Then they began to attack Navy vessels, okay, off the coast of Iran. So Iran launched a retaliation. It was a wide, broad, and accurate retaliation. Okay? So now Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so now America is having to deal with because American got this thing of freedom of trade. Okay, where America, ensures these nations have freedom of navigation for their trade routes with oil, with goods, or whatever. American Navy is supposed to ensure that. Okay, but what Iran is showing that America can't defend its military bases, it can't defend its military personnel, it can't defend these Gulf Arab states, and it can't defend the freedom of trade. Iran is exposing America, man. The Lord is using Iran to expose America, man, to be a fraud. Okay? America has been riding off this reputation, but America ain't never really been tested like we seeing America being tested right now. Okay? And it's all prophecy because it's making all the alliances of the Bible that we read about fall in place. All the alliances that we read about dealing with this war, now they're falling in place exactly how the Lord said they will fall in place, showing you that this is the Lord's, all right, war strategy, man. Okay? And it's going against what Esau was trying to do. Okay? Now, Esau, the elites in the background, they have, their agendas and they can capitalize off certain situations, you know. So can the elites capitalize off of the Strait of Hormuz being closed? Absolutely, because their new world order, all right, they need people to be desperate. Okay, and mainly they need Western nations to be desperate because China and India, they are already on board, which a lot of their oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, it affects India and China. Okay, so India and China, they're already mostly on board. They're the two closest nations to be fully digital, to be in the new world order, outside of Sweden, which they're using the sea hip. Sweden is basically in the new world order. Okay, but China, all they need is the sea hip, and they'll be in the new world order. India is heavily digital. They got digital IDs in India, so the pressure that they need to put, okay, to get people to take the chip, okay, which a lot of people in America, they're not gonna have a hard time. Okay, they just need to bring about chaos. So the elites can capitalize off this current, all right, war. Okay, and Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. They can do that. Okay, so that's a play that's being played as well, but it all work in our favor because we know the war can't go nuclear until they enforce the sea hip. Okay, and before the sea hip, we know that the economy has to crash. Okay, so it all works in our favor, whatever the elites doing. But ultimately, it's the will of the Lord that we're seeing play out, not the will of the elites. we're seeing the will of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah play out. Okay, this is what we're witnessing in real time, and that's why it's lining up exactly according to biblical prophecy, man. Okay, so let's get a few precepts, and then I got a few videos I want to get into. But when you go into the book of Isaiah, chapter 2, and verse 17, Isaiah 2 and 17, it says, "And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low." So the Lord is bowing down Esau, man, and he got Esau looking like a fool. This was a miscalculation. Now, of course, Esau, he does game theory. He has, he knew to an extent what Iran was capable of. Okay, he knew to an extent, and he knew that those bases were vulnerable. But he gambled on the decapitation strike. He gambled on if we kill, all right, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, and these other Iranian leaders, okay, that we can create civil unrest, okay, to where the government topples. See, Esau gambled on it not getting this far. He was aware of Iran capabilities, but Esau took the gamble of it not getting this far, man. And America wasn't ready to do it. Iran, the small hats forced them to it. They drug them into it, the least of the flock. America did not want to do this, man. American generals did not want this shit. Okay? But there were the small hats. Okay? Because we understand that the elites are wearied in their counsel. They're panicking. The elites are not comfortably sitting down. This is not the plan of the elites running, okay, smoothly. Okay? What we're seeing is not the elites plan running to a T. No, they have interest in this and they trying to capitalize off of it, and they make political moves to cause war to happen. Okay, but the ripple effect that's happening, they can't plan for this. AI can't see around every corner. AI is not perfect. AI is not omnipotent. AI is overrated. Esau overrated. Okay, and Iran is showing that the AI is overrated because Palantir can't win this war. Okay, Palantir can do little cute missions. It can't win this war. Okay, that's why they're getting the brakes beat off of them. You see, Iran got real strategists over there. Okay, one thing about it, when you follow America and these small hats and how they operate, they never use strategy. They use gimmicks and technology. They don't use strategy like that. Okay, they use gimmicks and technology and overwhelming force. Well, they tried that day one, didn't work how they thought. Now they in a real war, and they not built for that. Okay, Palantir ain't built for no real active, okay, hostile, okay, enemy. Okay, you can track people down, blow up apartments, and assassinate, blow up his phone or whatever, but you can't win no war with no goddamn Palantir, man. Overrated. Okay, pack Palantir up. You see? So what we're seeing, this is not the elites, all right, master plan working to perfection. No, that's not what we're seeing. These niggas is scrambling. These niggas is weary. These niggas is desperate. Okay? So we're seeing the Most High bring the haughtiness of men low. Okay? Isaiah 2 and 17 says, "And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day." See, it's all about Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. He's finna be exalted in the earth, man. Esau been a fraud, man, portraying himself like he's a god. This nigga is limited. We're gonna go into some of these videos and we're gonna see Esau is limited. He's not all knowing, he's not all powerful. Okay, as he try to push himself to be. His technology is overrated. Yeah, he can do some things, but it's limited. The Most High is showing Esau that, nigga, you're limited. It's only so much you can do. Okay, so this is what we're seeing, all right, from Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. He's showing the world this nigga is limited. This nigga's a fraud. Okay, and it's beautiful to see this nigga scrambling. Okay, now the elites, they got some, some aces in the pocket that they gonna, pull out and implement this and implement that. They're gonna push their new world order. You know, but that's not the end all be all. The agenda of the least is not the end all be all to everything that we see. A lot of things that we see, are psyops and enchantments. We go into that, but then there's the Lord. The Lord will. That's what's gonna be exalted at the end of this, man. Okay, what He wants to happen. All right. Verse 18 it says, and the idols He shall utterly abolish. Okay, and AI is an idol. You see, AI is an idol. Okay, if you take away the data center from the AI, it will be lifeless. Okay, if you took away the data center from this nigga's AI, the AI would be lifeless, man. Just like an idol that don't move, that don't do nothing. If you take away AI, if you take away the data center, this nigga's AI will be idle, man. Okay, it will be it will be useless, and the Lord is showing that it's useless now. Okay, because this nigga he ain't getting no advantage with that goddamn AI. He getting his ass toe out the frame. Okay, so let's um let's go from there. We got quite a few videos we get into today, but let's see so lucky. Matter of fact, let's go here. Yeah, see what's happening. Them devils playing for a quick war. Okay, they pride. You see, they pride and got to him. If a brother could post that in Jeremiah 49 and I believe let's get Jeremiah 49 in the NLT Bible shot too. Yeah. With Jeremiah 49 and 16 in the NLT Bible shot. Jeremiah 49, 16 in the NLT. So let's read this real quick. This from the brother this is from the brother Wars of Yahweh 144. Jeremiah 41 and 7 said, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that had made all the earth drunken. The nation have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Okay, so these nations, have taken on the wine of Babylon. Okay, which ultimately the main, abomination of these nations is to partake in this new world order, because all these nations are on board with this new world order. All right, but they disagree in certain points within it. And what we're seeing is these nations fighting in the door, fighting to get into the door of this new world order. Okay, because they want to establish dominance, for themselves. Okay, within this new world order. So what we're seeing these nations fighting into the door of this new world order. Okay, every nation trying to, you know, consolidate as much power as possible, man. Okay, they want to go into this new world order with strength. Okay, because they see what happened to you when you're weak in this old world order. So these nations want to go into the new world order with strength. Okay, so what we're seeing is these nations fighting in the door. Okay, and that's why we're finna see a brawl for it all. But Yahweh Shai, what they not counting on is Yahweh Shai. Okay, which they've been speaking on that, which Al Razak will do a lesson within itself. Okay, Al Razak will do a lesson within itself going into that. Okay, so let's get this video here, because what we're seeing is desperation. Okay, from Esau, man. This nigga is desperate. This nigga is not in a position of leverage. Okay, he gonna be able to leverage a sea help on you peon citizens, man. Okay, but this devil is not able to throw his weight around the earth like he used to. Okay, now he's gonna put pressure on the citizens to take this sea help for sure. Okay, When it comes to this man throwing his weight around militarily in the earth, Babylon can't do it anymore. He washed up. Babylon is washed up, man, because they military is based off technology, overwhelming, quick wars, man. Okay, not for no dogfight. They not meant to go up against no strategists, man. Okay, what we're seeing is preparation because Iran been preparing for this war for decades. That's why Iran been showing so much restraint because they knew that they would come, that they won't have to go head over with America. That's why they ain't been tripping on the small hats. The small hats is a non-factor. The IDF is the most overrated military ever. Okay, the most overrated military ever is the IDF. Okay, Iran they a non-factor. Okay, to Iran. Okay, imagine if all see Iran attacking 11 countries right now at the same time. Imagine if they concentrated all their firepower on the state of Israel right now. They'll be done in 72 hours. Okay, if they concentrated all their firepower on the state of Israel, Israel would have been done. Okay, and they saying they can keep this pace for 90 days. Okay, America can't keep up with this pace. Okay, because they're stretched too thin. And we're going to show you how desperate America is getting, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Donald Trump is panicking as catastrophic news is coming out of the Middle East from Donald Trump's unlawful invasion of Iran. The United States consulate in Dubai hit by Iranian drones. The United States CIA building in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, hit by Iranian drones. The U.S. Air Base in Qatar, the Al Udeid base, hit by Iranian drones, including a ballistic radar detection system hit by Iranian drones. The United States is running out of its munitions. Donald Trump is lying and claims we have unlimited munitions, but Donald Trump has now called a meeting of some of the biggest U.S. defense contractors to show up on Friday and to talk about how they can produce more weapons as the U.S. is running low. And we know that Iran is able to make these Shahed drones and ballistic missiles very cheaply, while the U.S. is unable to keep pace with its own billion-dollar weapon systems. Here's what.
So this nigga having a meeting, okay, with the defense manufacturers, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, okay? Nigga, it ain't nothing they can do. It's only so fast they can produce this weaponry. Okay, you can't make up the gap between your missile defense systems and Iran's ballistic arsenal. Okay, nigga, you should have did this 8 months ago. You should have had this meeting 8 months ago. Nigga, it's over. Nigga, they shooting now. Okay, a meeting ain't gonna solve this situation, my nigga. You done. Okay, what you talking to them, nigga? They need to go to work. You stopping them from working. You see? So talking about we're gonna have a meeting with the defense contractors, nigga, that's pointless. Okay, but we know that what you're seeing now because the elites want America to be weakened anyway. Okay, but see the pride of Esau don't want to go out like this, man. Esau want to be in a position of dominance, man. Esau didn't have in his plans for him to be dominated by Iran. This wasn't in the playbook. Okay, Esau trying to save face. Okay, and he can't do it. All this technology showing you that Esau relied on this technology, man. Iran, they showing true innovation. They showing true strategy. Okay, and it's overwhelming all this high tech shit that America got. Okay, America got all this high dollar, high tech weaponry, but it's becoming a no factor. Okay, because you seeing strategy at work, man, and decades of preparation. Okay, let's play this some more.
Reuters is reporting The Trump administration plans to meet with executives from the biggest U.S. defense contractors at the White House on Friday to discuss accelerating weapons production as the Pentagon works to replenish supplies after strikes on Iran and several other recent military efforts. 5 people familiar with the plans told Reuters. Companies include Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and others. And remember Donald Trump saying, we don't have an issue with munitions, but he's calling this emergency meeting. By the way, doesn't this remind you of when Donald Trump invaded Venezuela and then brought in all of the oil companies to show up and talk about how they were going to divvy up Venezuela? Just take a look at some of this disastrous news that we're learning out of Iran as well. Iranian strikes damage structures on or near U.S. military communications and radar systems at 7 bases across the Middle East, the New York Times reports, noting at least 11 facilities hit in total. Also noted by drop site damage was identified at facilities in Bahrain, Qatar, which I just mentioned, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Targets appear to include missile tracking radar systems, satellite dishes, and radomes used for long-distance military communications. Also, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially shut down at this point. As Christian Tribert writes, since Monday, just 3 oil and gas tankers, let me repeat that, just 3 oil and gas tankers have crossed the Strait of Hormuz, according to the latest Kepler data.
And the only thing that's getting through, only gas tankers that are getting through the Strait of Hormuz is the gas tankers going to China and Russia. Okay, when China and Russia was dropping all their weaponry off the Iran, you didn't think they discussed this? Okay, you didn't think they discussed this Strait of Hormuz? So since Monday, only 3 tankers have gotten through. And what 3 tankers you think they're? Those are tankers for Russia and Iran. I mean, Russia and China, man. Okay. And Iran has did everything it said it was going to do. Okay, we've been talking about this. I ain't surprised at how it's going. We've been going through this. If y'all been following, haven't we not been talking about how this was going to go? We've been talking about this. I'm not surprised at all. Everybody's surprised with Iran. I'm not surprised. I'm seeing how this buildup is going. I seen the 12-day war. I've been seeing Iran, all right, make mockery of Esau's missile defense system. Iran been doing this for years. They just been doing it real light. Now we just seeing them up the tempo by 100, and they said that we can up this by 100. Okay, because they were trying to create deterrence. Now they in the all-out fight. Okay, so what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now is Iran doing everything that they told the world they was going to do. They said they was going to strike every military asset in the region. They done it. They said they're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They done it. They said they was going to rain hell on Tel Aviv. They're doing it. Okay? They're doing everything that they said they was going to do. And America is doing nothing they just said they was going to do, and they still lying. Trump probably gonna get up and tell y'all winning today, man. You know?
It is a de facto closure, says Pickering Energy. You've got a significant number of vessels on either side of the strait, but no one is willing to go through, as Iran has said, if you go through, we will blow you up. And as a result of this, we're seeing stock markets across the world are crashing. We saw South Korea's stock market halted after an 8% crash, which even went down to more of a 10% crash, triggering a circuit breaker. The Japanese markets were crashing as well. Massive problems affecting economic markets abroad. And we now have the images, folks, of the first confirmed fatalities in Trump's illegal war on Iran. We have the photos of the.
And look at these niggas, man. Look at your army. Look at these niggas, man. Look at your roster. Look at your American roster. Okay? You got Susan Q, Peter Griffin, okay, the Dexter's Laboratory. Look at these niggas, man. This is your roster. America finished, man. Okay? The beginning of the end. All right? Sayonara, man. Let's play this, man.
These service members who were in Kuwait, whose leadership was reaching out to the Trump regime in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere and saying, we are being left unprotected. These the facilities that you have us in don't have any anti-drone systems. We need help here. Their requests were ignored, and this is the cost of war. And Donald Trump and his regime have now briefed Congress and stated that there will likely be many, many more deaths and many, many more service members seriously injured. Also, the United States is now planning on, they've already armed actually Kurdish militias. And I guess part of the United States thinking right now is they're going to try to coerce or pressure Kurdish militias to invade Iran in order to provoke a civil war in Iran. And that's supposed to encourage people in Iran to take over the country. And I'm trying to understand the plan here.
They're desperate, man. Nigga talking about the Kurds. Okay, why do you need the Kurds? You're the strongest, mightiest military to ever exist. So why do you need the Kurds? Okay, the Kurds are non-factor. They're gonna be destroyed. Okay,
there was a
all right. The Kurds will be destroyed before your lunch break. Okay, let's go. Let's get a few precepts. I see he's not letting y'all post that Jeremiah, like he's clipping it off. Let's get a few precepts and then go to some more videos. Because see, the devil, he's deceived by pride. Pride has this man blinded, and he's moving foolishly, man. Okay, Esau can make mistakes. AI can make mistakes, man. Palantir and all that, it can make mistakes. Okay, it's not the end all be all. Okay, or decision making. It's it can do some things to put these devils. It got its pros. Okay, but when it comes to prophecy, man, Palantir and AI and the elites, this is their agenda is becoming a non-factor to what the Lord is doing. Okay, now don't get it twisted. The elites play both sides and they play a part in these wars. Okay, they're not just on the bench. Okay, they're actively, behind the scenes pushing particular things, and they're gonna, all right, the fallout from this war, they're gonna capitalize toward their new world order agenda. Okay, but as far as how this all turns out, it's the will of the Lord, man. It's prophecy, man. Jeremiah 49:16, it says, you have been deceived by the fear you inspire in others. Okay, so America has been used to having this reputation, okay, of being invincible, untouchable. Okay, these one-sided wars. Okay, they're used to. That's why even that build up, all that build up of military assets and naval strike groups. Okay, they're used to that being enough to intimidate these nations and do what they want to do, where they don't even have to go to war. Those wolf tickets fail. You see? It says you have been deceived by the fear you inspire in others. This nigga is deceived, man. Okay? It says, and by your own pride, you live in a rock fortress and control the mountain heights. But even if you make your nest high among the peaks with the eagles, I will bring you down. I will bring you crashing down, says the Lord Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. So this man has weaponry in the atmosphere. His technology in the atmosphere. He's able to have all this intelligence and do all these things because he has weapons in the atmosphere. The atmosphere, the satellites. This nigga has direct energy weapons, and this nigga has things in the atmosphere that's linked to things in the earth, man. So this man has made his fortress reach up into the heavens, man. Okay, that's how Palantir is able to find everybody and pinpoint certain leaders and do this and that. Like it has capabilities, but it's limited. Not saying that Palantir is not all right and an advanced tool that they use in the military. It enhances their capability and their reach dramatically, but it's limited and it got flaws. Okay, It's limited and it got flaws. Everything that this devil make is limited with flaws. Okay? His AI, you know, his weaponry, it all has flaws, it all has cons. And what Iran doing is capitalizing off all the flaws within America's military doctrine. And America got an old, played out military doctrine, man. They do the same thing. They've been doing the same thing since Vietnam, the same thing. Study American military doctrine. They do the same thing. It's outdated. They get all this new technology, but they do the same thing. Okay? Because they're used to having an advantage and they're used to having all these allies that assist them during the war. Okay? But now we're seeing America allies is falling back because Iran strategically, all right, put the world on notice that if you help these niggas, all right, we got packages for you too. Okay, so what you're seeing is America doesn't have the allies that it usually has when it wages war over here in this region. They usually have, you know, the whole region becomes the whole region was an asset to America when they was in Iraq and Afghanistan, okay, Syria. The whole region was an asset to America. They had air bases everywhere, stockpiles of munitions everywhere. They don't have that anymore. Okay. Well, one thing, they're being destroyed, and secondly, these nations are falling back. They like, look, this is not worth our infrastructure being bombed, helping you, because it was a time when weapons. It was a time where no one could. Iraq couldn't return fire like Iran. Afghanistan couldn't return fire like Iran. Syria couldn't return fire like Iran. See, now you're dealing with a military that can hit you where you at. They can put missiles on targets. Okay? They can make you pay a price for being an ally to America. You see, this is something new. So now you're seeing a new response from their allies, like, look, we good. No, we ain't getting in that. You know, Spain and America, they completely cut ties because Spain said that y'all can't use nothing of ours. Okay? Certain nations, I think I got pulled up on the chat. I think I got it pulled up. But I'll get into that in a minute. You know, so let's go here. All right, so this devil been deceived. Okay, and that deception made him miscalculate. And now he's in a trap. That's the whole point of a trap, man. Let's get this real quick. Let's get this. We got a few videos. Then we'll get back into it. So let's go here.
You turn on the news and you just have to blink a couple of times and check the date. I think we're living through one of those moments right now. What we are witnessing in occupied Palestine is nothing short of a complete unraveling of the narrative we've been sold for decades. The myth of Israeli invincibility. Over the last 48 hours, the so-called impregnable skies of Tel Aviv have been torn apart by non-stop explosions as Iranian retaliation has punched through the air defense grid like it was made of paper.
The city of Tel Aviv continues to be Iran's prime target, and there have been regular attacks.
Iran's Revolutionary Guards have said that they launched missile strikes on Israel's government in Tel Aviv as
We aren't talking about a few stray rockets here. This is a systematic dismantling of the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow system. The vaunted technology that Israel's lobby spent billions of dollars marketing as a sci-fi miracle is failing in real time because it's facing something it wasn't designed for: saturation. You can have the best interceptors in the world, but when Iran launches salvos designed to overwhelm your tracking radars and empty your magazines, math starts to work against you. And that math is looking very Juvry ugly for Benjamin Netanyahu tonight. Take a listen and laugh.
This is the third day of the Operation Roaring Lion, the operation the Israeli.
Nigga, you don't sound like no roaring lion. You know? This nigga do not sound like no roaring lion. Look at the background. Okay?
The army and the state of Israel set out to, with our great friends, the United States of America and President Trump, to thwart existential threats to Israel and great threats to America and the entire world. When I stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians. I've said for many years that they threaten not only Israel and not only America. They chant death to Israel, death to America. That's their ultimate target. But I said that they would also target those in between, that they would target Europe. They did. And if this regime, this terrorist regime of the kind we've never seen in the world, if they get nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them, ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, they will threaten all of humanity. Doing, we protect many others. And I want to say special thanks to our great friend and a great leader of the world, Donald Trump, for joining us in this crucial effort to save the world. Thank you.
While mainstream Western media is trying to spin this as tensions in the Middle East, on the ground in places like Tel Aviv, Holon, and Ramat Gan, the reality is fire and steel. Footage that somehow slipped past the military censors, despite their frantic efforts, shows hypersonic impacts leveling targets with a precision that is frankly terrifying for the occupation regime. There are confirmed reports circulating on X, which we have tracked down and verified through cross-referencing with Iranian news agencies, that the strikes have hit far beyond military zones. We're seeing reports of direct hits on sensitive Mossad outposts in the northern suburbs, but more shockingly, there is confirmed damage to multiple desalination plants. As of this morning, the Ashkelon facility has taken heavy damage, and there are unconfirmed but highly credible reports coming out of Tehran Times and Press TV that the Sorek and Palmachim plants have also been bracketed or hit. This isn't random revenge. This is a calculated strategy.
So now there's talks that Iran is targeting, all right, these what you call, I had to pull it up. I had to reset it. But it's where they make that salt water drinkable water. Yeah, desalination. Yeah, desalination plants. Okay, and he's going to explain what a desalination plant is. All right, and it's critical. It's critical for those Gulf Arab states and these small hats over there in the state of Israel to have these desalination plants, all right, because they're deserts. Okay, now let's play this a little more. He's gonna go into it. Yeah, that nigga Netanyahu, he's a liar. Okay, yeah, it's like France. We went into that yesterday. France just entered into the war. Okay, well, that's not gonna be France ain't gonna be saving grace. Okay, they a non-factor. You see. So let's play this. He's gonna go into these water plants, and they say Iran has started to target them as well. Okay, so this is very strategic. How Iran is moving. Okay, so let's play this.
To choke the Zionist entity where it bleeds. It's water supply. Before we dive deep into why targeting these plants is the single most dangerous move for Netanyahu's survival, and why his threats to invade Iran are now laughable, I need you to hit that like button and share this video. We are one of the few outlets left telling you the truth without the spin, without the apology for war criminals. If you believe in honest journalism, smash that subscribe button right now, because the corporate media won't show you this. Before we proceed to the big news, take a moment to watch this reporter from the Chinese state television channel CCTV showing extensive damage in the center of Tel Aviv. He also reported that they only had 5 minutes to film before Israeli security personnel approached and ordered them to stop filming.
以色列的防御系统直接命中特拉维夫市中心的这样的一个现场。现在可以看到我身后的这一栋建筑，几乎是
Israeli emergency channels that the situation in the technology hub around Petah Tikva and the Microsoft buildings in the Herzliya Pitwak area is chaotic. Now, we have to be careful here. When we say Microsoft buildings, we aren't talking about a software store. That area houses some of the most sensitive cyber defense units and military tech incubators in the country. There is deep reporting emerging that multiple red zones, those high-tech campuses that double as reserve duty gathering points for Elite Unit 8200 and other signals intelligence units, have been rendered inoperable. The strikes were so precise and so devastating that we are now hearing whispers of a mutiny of sorts. Not mutiny in the sense of soldiers pointing guns at officers, but refusal. Reports are filtering out of Israel that technicians and officers stationed at these sensitive sites are refusing to return to duty. They saw what happened to their friends and colleagues when those bunkers were hit. They are looking at the Iranian strategy and realizing that Netanyahu's ego-driven push for escalation has turned them into targets. Why die for a man who hides in a bunker while your neighborhood burns? Now, I want to focus on something that might sound mundane, but is actually the most brilliant strategic move Iran has made in this conflict: the systematic targeting of desalination plants. To understand this, you have to understand Israel's geography and infrastructure. Israel is, for the most part, a desert. It doesn't have giant rivers like the Nile or the Euphrates. For decades, their great white hope was the sea. They built these massive, incredible facilities that use reverse osmosis to suck the salt out of Mediterranean water and turn it into drinking water. Plants like the one in Ashkelon, Hadera, Sorek, and Palmachim are not just infrastructure, they are existential. Before these plants came online, droughts literally dictated policy. Now these plants produce an overwhelming percentage of the country's potable water. Some estimates say over 70% of household water comes from desalination. So, how do they work? Imagine a giant industrial complex right on the coastline. Giant pumps suck in seawater, pushing it through filters at immense pressure. We're talking about some membranes that act like a molecular sieve. And these membranes are so tiny that they let water molecules through, but block the salt and minerals. It's brilliant engineering, but it is incredibly fragile. These facilities are a web of high-pressure pipes, delicate membranes, and massive electrical pumping stations. If a missile hits the intake pumps, the plant stops. If a missile hits the high-pressure piping, it explodes like a bomb. If the electrical grid feeding it is severed, the plant stops. And unlike a military radar that you can replace in a few weeks, repairing a desalination plant takes months, if not years. By targeting these plants, and our sources on the ground indicate that the strike on Ashkelon has crippled its output capacity by at least 60%, Iran has essentially placed a tourniquet around the throat of Israeli society. You can live without luxury imports. You can live without gas stations for a while, but you cannot live without water. When the taps in Tel Aviv start running dry, or when the water that does come out is brackish and undrinkable because the mixing ratios with freshwater reserves are off, the streets will boil over. The Zionist regime relies on the perception of normalcy to keep people in the cities. Without water, the city's empty. This is existential pressure. Netanyahu can spin military losses, but he cannot spin away thirst. This is why the regime is panicking. They know that if Iran continues to target these plants, the humanitarian catastrophe inside the 1948 territories will be so immense that it will make the current calls for a ceasefire look like a polite suggestion. This is a war-winning strategy, and it's happening right now. And yet, in the middle of this inferno, we have Benjamin Netanyahu standing at a podium looking like a man who's just been told his credit card is maxed out, threatening to invade Iran. It would be funny if it weren't so tragic for the people being dragged into his delusions. The idea that Israel could mount a ground invasion of Iran, a country with a population of nearly 90 million, a country that is mountainous, rugged, and defended by a highly motivated and capable military, is the stuff of fantasy. The IDF is struggling to maintain order in the West Bank and Gaza. They are taking losses from Hezbollah in the north. Their air defense is compromised. Their water is running low. And he thinks they can march on Tehran? The audacity is staggering, but the reality is that the army of the north has been exposed. We are getting
The army of the north has been exposed, man. Okay, and also we know the Northern Army, speaking of America, but America is what props up these small hats. They've been exposed, man. Okay, and y'all not gonna have to march to Iran because hey, Ezekiel 38, they gonna come to you. Okay, they gonna come to you. All right. Small hats are highly overrated, man. Okay, idea of highly overrated. Okay, trash, and I do mean trash, man. They can't fight nobody. They can fight back. Okay, and it's being shown every second. All right, now when you let's go here. We got another one. Trying to roll these videos back to back, paint a picture. So yeah, if they hit those they're saying that they hit, one of them and knocked this production down like 60%. That's what speculation. So we'll see. Okay, but that'll be vital if they start attacking, that essential infrastructure like water and power. So let's play this one. He's gonna break it down too, dealing with the Strait of Hormuz. All right, how that factors in. So let's play this.
Even if you don't really know the war, even if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay, really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz, all right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takeichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we'll run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right, the idea of the petrodollar is this: the US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable if people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar.
And that was set up by the devil, Henry Kissinger. Okay? And he went over there to those Arab states. All right, when Nixon, okay, he took the dollar off the gold standard. Okay, in 71. In the following year, okay, this devil Henry Kissinger went over there to those Arab states, and in exchange for weapons, okay, food, okay, security, all right, they agreed to only sell their oil in US dollars, and that created, all right, this demand for the dollar. Okay, this false demand for the dollar. Okay, so the dollar became extremely powerful, after 72 because it became needed for these countries, all right, to for their energy. All right, all these countries need this energy, man. All these manufacturing, powerhouse countries, Japan, China, India, okay? All these countries that depend heavily on manufacturing, okay? They need, all right, this oil that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz from these Gulf Arab states, okay? And the only way you can get their oil was through dollars, and they created a crazy demand for US dollars. And that's why the dollar has so much dominance over these other currencies, because it is the only dollar, it's the only currency in which you can buy anything on the earth. Okay. American dollar is the only currency where you can buy anything on the earth, what makes it extremely liquid. Okay, because people know they can always exchange dollar, okay, for their oil. All right, these are all the markets and economy know that the U.S. dollar can always be traded for oil. Okay, now they have other Saudi Arabia had diversified to China. Okay, these last few years because these Gulf states finna swing over to China, Russia, and America, man. Okay, and what Iran is doing is putting the pressure on these Gulf Arab states to swing over because they got to fulfill 2nd Ezra 15, 28 through 30. We've been going over that. Okay, so this is the Lord making moves to fulfill prophecy. Now, the least got their agenda to where they want to crash the global economy. Okay, so they got their agenda within the mix. Okay, but what's going to prevail and triumph over what the least got going on, what the Lord got going on? Okay, so let's play this. And the least do not have it all figured out. Okay, sometimes the niggas be winging it and making the most out of disaster. Okay, certain things they cause and they set up, then certain things they miscalculate. Okay, and they make the best out of the disaster, man. Okay.
So, if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time. The problem, though, is that GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in, right? They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It doesn't grow by itself, it imports. All right? So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And
it's putting a lot of pressure on these Gulf Arab states, man. Putting a lot of pressure on Europe, putting a lot of pressure on Asia. This is how world wars start. This event affects everybody. Nobody can afford to be neutral. Okay? Nobody can afford to be neutral. And the Lord got Iran. Because see, with that killing of the supreme leader, this something else now. Okay? And guess what? They just put his son, the Ayatollah, his son is the new supreme leader now. So you know what he on. Come on, man. You know what he on. What they did to Pop, so you know what he on. Okay, this is playing out perfectly for prophecy's sake. If a brother can post that, Romans 8 and 28, powerful shot.
Again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right. Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy, all right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay. Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. They're not. It's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right. Number three, and this is most important, is water. Okay. You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants, okay? These factories that take salt water and then through electrical chemical process, turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in the GCC comes from desalination, okay? 60%. Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is, it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC, it's just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it. Okay? So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Okay, but Iran also has a weakness, okay, and this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay? So for the longest time, they suffered a drought issue, okay, just climate change. And so what the plan of the Israelis and Americans is destroy the water supply of the Iranians. Because the fortress, it is a mountain fortress, but it can also be a mountain prison as well, where people are trapped inside with no access to water. Okay, so what we're going to see right now, we're already seeing attacks on civilian infrastructure, hospitals. In the future, you'll see attacks on water supply, on dams, on reservoirs, on power plants. The idea is to make Iran so inhabitable that the people will have to rebel against the people, or there'll be a refugee crisis in Iran. Okay? So as you can see from this map, this war, it is the end of the world. Okay?
The end of the world, the end of Esau's world. You know, and it's the common narrative, okay, surrounding all news. Okay? And then you know, hey, Shalom, Mike, how about you, Mouth Shy, about Shem, Prakata? Yeah, bro. You know, so everybody is speaking of this war being the war that's going to end it all. And they're exactly right. It's going to end Esau's age. And it's going to be the last war ever fought in existence, man. You see, this is some heavy times, man. And like the brother did a video earlier, the brother Tazamag out of Memphis. Okay, he just did the lesson. Strategy, okay, is overwhelming strength. Okay, and also it's the strategy of the Lord. Iran is a vessel, but the Lord got Iran just moving very strategic in this war, man. To where is no answer. All these Western powers, you gotta understand, Iran, all right, is striking the small hats of America, and they done hit European assets as well. So all these mighty Edomite governments, all these high IQ niggas can't figure out what to do with Iran. And you got, like like it went into the other day. You had the prime minister of the UK. That nigga was explaining himself, man. He was trying to make it clear that he had nothing to do with those attacks, man. Okay, so and this is what I want to see too, because you got now Trump is saying that he's going to go open up the Strait of Hormuz, and I want to see this. I want to see this. Okay, so he's saying that he's going to go and start escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, and I want to see this, man. All right, this Warriors of Yahushua, Romans 8:28. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called, all right, according to His name, all right, to His purpose. Okay, read it again. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to His purpose, man. Okay, everything is working in our favor, man. This is beautiful how the Lord got this thing, all right, happen in real time, and everything is just falling together perfectly within prophecy, man. Okay, and the devil don't got it. Esau don't got it. From the elites on down, they don't got it. They do not have it figured out. Okay, this nigga finna go out in an embarrassing way. Esau not going out on his feet. When Yahushua come back, Esau gonna be on his back. America gonna be on their back. Okay? America gonna be on their back, man. Yahushua coming to give them that last, all right, that last night. Lights out. Okay? So let's play this real quick.
This morning, I was speaking with one of our colleagues here at Bloomberg, an energy expert, and this was the thing he was talking about. He was like, all the missiles and all that going around. When it comes to energy prices, it's what assurances can the U.S. provide to make sure that folks can get in and out of the Strait of Hormuz? And we saw the reaction in energy prices on that headline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crude needed this headline. We were starting to see some panic trading overnight, with crude trading up 8%. And we saw the headlines you mentioned with Iraq starting to having to shut in production because they're not able to move crude through the strait. So providing these assurances absolutely was the relief the crude market needed to stabilize here. I think there's two things to consider with this. First is these are words right now, so we need to actually see how this is going to play out. What do those military escorts look like? How expensive is the insurance? And do the shippers feel a degree of comfort with what they're being provided so that they actually start moving through? The market is going to significantly sell off when those ships start moving. Mm-hmm. Until then, I think we can maintain somewhat of a premium just on the fact that the ships aren't moving and we are starting to build up storage in the Middle East that isn't able to kind of make its way into the market. Yeah. But I would come back to this point. This is absolutely what the market was looking for and talking about yesterday, is looking for these assurances. It's a big deal that we got them, but it's not the whole picture.
Well, we'll talk about the storage issue, because that seems to have been the real bugaboo here. I mean, we've had kind of assurances from the Saudis and others that they'll increase production, but the idea is that you can't even get an empty tanker into the Strait of Hormuz to get that oil and then get it out, and the storage capacity that they already have at these terminals and on land, at least from what Bloomberg is reporting, are pretty much at capacity.
So yeah, that's the key point. We're talking about stranded assets here, where you can pump as much as you want, but if it can't go anywhere, it's irrelevant, right, to the market. I would say Iraq was known to have the least amount of storage capacity, so the market wasn't entirely surprised that they were the first to say they were going to shut in. From the data I've seen, it does look like the UAE and Saudi Arabia have a little bit more storage capacity that could last for maybe 20 to 25 days of a Strait of Hormuz closure. Now, you don't want to test those limits, and each day that passes, there was going to be more anxiety around that. But it isn't that they were at tank tops or storage capacity today, but it's not a never-ending story. They're eventually going to fill, and shut-ins are a very extreme outcome for the crude market. It's not just that you're producing and putting it in inventory, you can pull it out as soon as you need it. It takes time. So that is the key factor for the market, was figuring out how much storage capacity lies in the Middle East. Yeah. Iraq, obviously, the weak link.
Yep. So
we have just reported on the Saudi oil refinery.
So what you have now with the Strait of Hormuz closing, okay, you have these Gulf nations, these Gulf Arab nations. If they don't have a lot of place to store this oil, they got to stop pumping altogether. You know, so they only got so much storage. So you got ships that's anchored down, okay, in the Persian Gulf. Okay, then you got these oil refineries, okay, these oil fields. They're pumping the oil, but they only got so much storage. And Iraq is the first one to have to completely just shut down producing oil, okay, because they done ran out of storage, okay, and it's only so far these other nations can continue to pump before they run out of storage and they got to stop, all right, and it's not like an on and off switch with these oil fields, okay. Once you stop these oil fields from pumping, you know it takes a while to get them back online, okay. So this is a major ripple effect, man. You know, and it's interesting to see how these things play out. Okay, it's interesting to see how the Lord gonna have these things play out, man. All right, let's go here. Show you the desperation of Esau. I got one more video we'll play. You know, and show you this nigga desperation. So dealing with these THAAD defense and defense missile systems. All right, these defense missile systems, THAAD. All right, I think they call it terminal high altitude aero defense, whatever. But when so what Iran did the first day, they took out the satellites because the satellites is what detect, all right, incoming missiles, and they communicate to the THAAD missile system to begin to activate, okay, for oncoming missiles. All right. So what Iran did was took out radars, those THAAD radars on the first strike. So now the radar can't communicate to the THAAD. Now the THAAD is still able to engage, but it has a shorter window now because the radar sees out far, okay, to where it knows to engage as soon as it's within the range, okay. So they took out the radars, and then what they did, they saturated the projectiles, okay. They kept sending drones, thousands, you know, hundreds of drones, hundreds of ballistic missiles. So they saturated, okay, those defense missile systems. And then when the projectiles got low, then the third phase they came in and they directly started taking out those THAAD systems. Okay, so now America has to move THAAD systems from the South Pacific over there in Asia, okay, over there from South Korea. And see, this is what these nations are seeing. Like, damn, y'all don't give a damn about what we got going. Because the reason you need missile defense system because of all American beef. See, South Korea need those missile defense systems because America got beef with Korea. I mean, North Korea. Okay. Taiwan need those missile defense system in their region because America got beef with China. Okay, Japan need those missile defense system because, let's say, America got beef with North Korea and China in their region. Okay, so these nations are seeing like this nigga is the problem, and then they seeing this nigga don't care about what we got going on, you know. So America is just becoming more and more isolated, man, because America is spending all this energy trying to protect these goddamn small hats, man. There's one little piece of land in the earth, man. Okay, got the earth in the uproar, man. Goddamn Amalek, man. Okay, so let's play this.
In every escalating conflict, there's a moment when the losing side stops managing and starts throwing everything it has. That moment has a name in military doctrine. It is called commitment. Not commitment in the motivational sense, commitment in the irreversible sense. Assets moved are so large, visible, and consequential, the decision cannot be walked back. The question stops being whether to escalate. It becomes how far the escalation goes before something stops it. America reached that moment this morning. B-52 Stratofortress bombers are being prepared for deployment to the Middle East. 15 aerial refueling tankers are crossing the Atlantic, pulling fighter jets behind them. THAAD and Patriot missile defense batteries, stationed in South Korea, are being rushed out and redirected to the Gulf. Read those three sentences together because they tell a single story. The B-52 is not a surgical instrument. It is the largest conventional bomb delivery platform in the American arsenal. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber delivered GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, destroying Iran's hardened nuclear facilities. The B-2 is a instrument, one aircraft, target, designed for the strike that ends the thing it hits. The B-52 is what you send when you're not trying to end one target, you are trying to end a campaign. 15 aerial refueling tankers crossing the Atlantic.
Now, it didn't destroy, all right, Iran's nuclear facilities, you know, because Iran, you know, they really don't know where it's at because it's so far on the ground. Okay, then you have multiple locations, so they really don't know where it's at. And they don't have nothing to get to, you know, those facilities. Okay, you know, so they can attack the area, and then America say, yeah, we destroyed them, and we see because we already showed how he was caught in that lie. Okay, how did they go from being obliterated to now they're a few days away from creating a nuclear weapon? You know, but we see that this devil has to scramble these assets from all over the earth, and it's the Lord drawing Esau in. Esau is being drawn in. Okay, and the least in plan for everything. Now the Lord got Esau being fully committed to this region because of prophecy. Now he got to recommit assets to this region of the earth because of prophecy, man. Because of what's that in a brother can post that in, hold on, it's 2nd Ezra 15. Okay, this is the will of Yahweh Bashim Shah, man. All right. The elites and they little side agendas, all right, that shit gonna fail, okay? The little wickedness that they got orchestrated in the mix and in the background, okay? Yeah, let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 20 and 21. 2nd Ezra verse, yeah, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 20 and 21. The 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 20 and 21. So let's play this.
Means fighter jets that cannot make the transatlantic crossing under their own fuel load are making it anyway. F-15Es, F-16s, potentially F-35s, being dragged across the ocean by tankers that extend their range to reach a theater. When you are moving fighters from the continental United States to the Middle East via Atlantic Tanker Bridge, you are not reinforcing a successful operation. You're backfilling an operation that burned through its initial force posture faster than projected. And then there's the THAAD. The Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System stationed in South Korea is not a spare battery kept in a warehouse for flexible redeployment. It was placed there because the North Korean ballistic missile threat to Seoul and US forces is a continuous danger. Moving it out of South Korea and rushing it to the Middle East means one of two things. Either Washington has assessed that the North Korean threat is temporarily manageable at reduced coverage, or Washington has assessed that the threat in the Middle East is so acute, so immediate, so beyond what existing Patriot batteries can handle. That accepting elevated risk in Korea is the less bad option. Both possibilities are alarming. The decision was made in the apparent urgency of a morning rush. It was a choice between two bad ones, made fast, under pressure. Because the interceptor reports are the most operationally consequential piece of information in all of this, interceptors running dangerously low. That phrase, from operational reporting out of the Gulf Theater, makes every other sentence in this escalation comprehensible. It is the answer to the question every analyst watching B-52s, tankers, and THAAD batteries move has been asking. If the American defensive architecture in the Gulf was so formidable, if the Patriot systems were so capable, why is the IRGC still striking? Why did Ras Laffan go dark? Why did Ras Tanura burn? Why did Al Udeid absorb a hit? Because the Patriot battery is only as capable as the number of interceptor missiles loaded into its launcher. Each Patriot PSC-3 interceptor costs approximately $4 million. Each THAAD interceptor costs approximately $10 million.
And I fact checked it, and the numbers are right. You know? And then the THAAD is even a little higher than 10. I seen numbers of 12, $13 million for one THAAD missile, man. Okay? And you times that times 48. All right? And that all that money and all that technology, and they ain't stopping the goddamn thing. And they can only make 90 of a year. Think about it. Iran is shooting 300, okay, drones and ballistic missiles a day. They can only make 96 of these a year. Nigga, that's not good math. You know? And Iran said they can do this for 90 days, so you're running out, okay, in day 3, day 4, going to day 4. Then you got 3 months left.
Each Iranian ballistic missile that requires interception costs Iran significantly less than that. Iran has had 20 years to build its missile inventory against the specific constraint that American interceptor costs impose. The arithmetic of missile defense economics in a high-tempo exchange always eventually favors the side with the cheaper offensive missile. The interceptors are running low because the exchange rate is what Iran designed it to be. And when the interceptors run low, the Patriot battery is a radar truck and a launcher with empty tubes. It can track, it cannot stop. The IRGC has been watching interceptor expenditure rates since the first salvo and has been pacing its strike tempo against the depletion curve. The Thiad being rushed from South Korea is not a reinforcement. It is an emergency reload. The Gulf's missile defense architecture has been tactically bled by an adversary that understood it would be first B-2 took off to strike Iranian nuclear facilities was built around the assumption of a short, decisive campaign. Strike the hardened targets, eliminate the nuclear program, absorb an Iranian retaliation wave that the existing Patriot coverage would suppress, then manage de-escalation from a position of demonstrated military superiority. That is the campaign plan that produced the opening strikes. That is not the campaign that is happening. Iran did not de-escalate after its nuclear facilities were destroyed. Iran's new leadership council made the decision that every American planner's optimistic scenario assumed they would not make. They struck back, not symbolically, not proportionally. They struck at the infrastructure of the entire Gulf energy system simultaneously, with a coordination and precision that revealed years of target development and operational preparation. Ras Laffan, Ras Tanura, Al Udeid, the mines in Hormuz, the formal closure declaration, the regional oil export interdiction announcement. Every action sequenced, every action escalatory, every action designed to impose costs that accumulate faster than America can absorb them, without committing forces at a scale that changes the political character of the war. America is committing those forces now. The B-52s carry conventional precision munitions. They carry JASSM ER cruise missiles with ranges exceeding 500 miles, which means they can strike Iranian targets from positions outside the most lethal envelope of Iran's air defense network. They carry the full range of standoff weapons that allow a 70-year-old airframe to be relevant in a contested modern air environment. What they bring that the B-2 did not is mass, volume, the ability to put munitions on a large number of targets simultaneously, which is what you need when you are no longer trying to destroy a program. You are trying to suppress a military. That is the operation that is being assembled over the Atlantic this morning. And
America trying to get them niggas off them. These niggas trying to get these niggas off of them, man. They moving everything over there to that region, man. Okay? And this was the worst miscalculation ever in military history, man. Okay?
it raises a question that nobody in the buildings where these decisions are made is willing to state publicly. The objective, the original objective, destroy Iran's nuclear program, was achieved. The B-2s accomplished it. The hardened facilities at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan are gone. The centrifuge arrays that were spinning enriched uranium toward weapons-grade concentration are rubble under 30,000 pounds of precision ordnance. The nuclear program, as it existed on the Friday before the strikes, does not exist on the Tuesday after. That objective was achieved. Iran is still fighting. The objective has changed. It must have changed because the force being assembled, B-52s, Atlantic tanker bridges, THAAD from Korea, fighter reinforcements, is not a force you build to defend an accomplished mission. It is a force you build to accomplish a new one. And the new mission, if you follow the logic of the assets being moved and the statements being made, is the suppression of Iranian conventional military capability. The IRGC's missile batteries, its fast attack vessel fleet, its coastal defense infrastructure, its command and control, the physical architecture that is currently enforcing the Hormuz closure and will continue enforcing it until it is destroyed or the war ends on terms Iran can accept. That is not a weekend operation. That is a sustained air campaign against a country of 87 million people with a military that has spent 20 years preparing for exactly this scenario. A military, civilian, and urban infrastructure, specifically because it understands that American rules of engagement create targeting.
Yeah, you went off on that. But yeah, so you seeing, all right, that Iran, has prepared, okay, for this war for a long time. Okay, with America. Iran was preparing to go directly at America. Okay, and we're seeing that plan being rolled out, and it was the Lord. This Lord's plan, ultimately. All right, Iran is just a vessel carrying it out. Okay, and causing prophecy to happen exactly how the Lord wanted to happen. Okay, all these assets are being moved to their region. French, let's say the French yesterday declared they was going to get involved from a defensive perspective. They didn't say that they was going to go offensive, but they was going to help defend Qatar and the UAE. Because they got assets in Qatar and the UAE, the French. Okay, so we'll see. All right, but one thing we know, prophecy is being fulfilled. You go to 2nd Esdras 15-20, said, "Behold, said the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another and repay." It says, "and repay the things that they have done to them," and that them is Israel, the Israelites. Okay. And in this time frame, speaking of the elect, so the Lord is mustering the host of the battle. Okay, the Lord is summoning these nations to this region of the earth to go to war with each other, and then He's going to send Yahweh Shah to go to war with all of them, man. Okay, so this is all right. The Heavenly Father's. This is His military strategy that's going forth, man. Okay, it says like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also in recompensing their bosom, thus said the Lord power, man. Okay, so the Lord is going to bring down all the militaries of the earth, man. He's going to conquer all the governments of the planet Earth. Okay, in one swoop, real quick. Okay, like lightning, as the scriptures say. So that's the point. Just wanted to get into that this morning. Lord will probably be back later on with something. So much happening. Because like the brother in London, because Apostle Hart said, you miss a day, you miss a lot. But now it's to the point, you miss an hour, you miss a lot, man. It's breaking news. It's been happening while we've been on. So tap in, and Lord will, if time permit, we'll be back later on. Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters was edified. Till next time, I say shalom, kwam yashala, abab soon, shalom.